You are listening to the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Welcome to Earth Sky People Radio. Living in harmony with Mother Earth and awakening to an intergalactic society. With your host, Victoria Vives, founder of Reiki Wellbeing and co-founder of the Earth Sky People Movement. Any opinions expressed in Earth Sky People Radio do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Any opinions expressed by Earth Sky People Radio's guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Earth Sky People Radio. Hello, this is Victoria Vives Khuong in Earth Sky People Radio. You can find me at victoriavives.com. Today is Saturday, March 7th, 2015, and we are here together. So let's take a moment to turn our attention within, focusing on our breathing, allowing our heart light to shine stronger and stronger, so much so that our lights join together, time in this space. No matter where you are around the world, we are in the same frequency because of our intention. So let's take this opportunity to become more and more aware of our oneness. We are coming back into oneness. Take another deep cleansing breath and allow that awareness to continue with you throughout the day. We are together in Earth Sky People Radio. Earth representing our connection with Mother Earth and nature, and Sky representing spirituality and life beyond the Earth, extraterrestrial life, extra-dimensional. Last week we had Santos Bonacci, and he was sharing wisdom and syncretism. You can check out the video and audio replay in the archives at victoriavives.com/radio. And today we have two very special guests. We have with us Julia Cannon. You most likely know that she is the daughter of Dolores Cannon. And we also have Candace Craw-Goldman. Just to share a little bit about them, Julia became a registered nurse and worked in intensive care and home health for the duration of her 20-plus year career. She then decided to explore other aspects of the healing profession and has trained in reconnective healing and also Dolores Cannon's quantum healing hypnosis therapy. Candace Craw-Goldman has been practicing Dolores Cannon's quantum healing hypnosis therapy since 2008 and assisted Dolores Cannon teaching her live classes. Is the co-host of the Metaphysical Hour with Julia Cannon. Their websites are juliacannon.com and newestjourney.com. And if you have questions during the show today, make sure to call 347-308-8788. And now we welcome to the show Julia and Candace. Welcome to Earth Sky People Radio.
Thank you so much, Victoria.
Thank you, Victoria, and thank you, Julia, for allowing me to join you today.
Oh, thank you.
It is an honor to have you here. It is like a dream come true to speak with you. I have so much connection with Dolores, and obviously you guys are so connected to her. And Julia, all the work that you are doing, the book that you've written, everything is so much in tune with what we are about in this show. So I'm excited to have you here.
Oh, and I'm very honored to be here, too. Thank you so much, Victoria.
So how did you start in this UFO and ET information? Because it is a big change from being a registered nurse, working in a more standard mainstream work, and now suddenly you are really, really very much connected with this ET information.
Right. Yeah, I was mainstream, all into the world. I mean, I guess I had the worlds going parallel for a while. In my earlier years, my mother and my father were both doing the hypnosis work, and so that was all going along, but then I was over here doing my career and everything, and so those were all happening, but then I guess those paths were kind of moving closer and closer together. We never know until we get beyond and kind of look backwards and see how the roads collide.
Wow.
And see, how it all comes together. But my career world was going along, and then the universe started going, you need to go another direction, because I was doing my path, and then all of a sudden it was saying, you need to go this other direction, and it was just kept, and I wrote about this in the book, and I know a lot of people have this happen to them, and I kept getting this message, you need to go this other way, you need to go this other way, and I kept starting to make the moves, but I would get uncomfortable because I was very comfortable in this nursing career, but I was unhappy. I knew I needed to make a change because you know you're at the end of that chapter. We have those signs. We know that's over, but it's uncomfortable to make that change and to make that shift. But I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know how to do it. And so about the fourth time I got that message, and it was over about the course of 2 years, I finally said, because I kept kind of thumbing my nose at the universe going, yeah, right, well, whatever, make me, that kind of stuff, and then, what are you going to do about it, and things, And then finally the last time I said, how on earth, and why would I do it, and how on earth, is this going to happen? And so I guess that was the magic word, because finally it was like, okay, fine, we're going to show you how. And it was like the whole world just stopped. My whole world as I saw it ceased to exist. And it's like they said, here, we're going to show you. And everything stopped. My world stopped. And I was plucked up from my world and plopped down into this world of metaphysics and ET and everything. I mean, I was already kind of in it because, my mother was doing all of her work, and I knew about it, and I was privy to it, but I was over here doing my work, and it was just over here on the side. But now I'm submerged head first, and I'm in it now. So it was like, you're in it. You are here, sink or swim. So, and I went kicking and screaming. So, yeah, it was like, you are here. So it must be that, I had a directive for myself before I came in that I had to be over here at a certain point. I think that's now looking back and how we make our plans and everything, I probably had a point in my life that I had to be there by this certain point. And, or I wasn't going to be able to get certain other things accomplished, namely probably this book and other things that had to be done with my mother and probably QHHT and all these other things that had to get accomplished, now looking back. So, yeah, it just had
and
to
I
get
can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine how powerful it is for you to have this background in nursing because you have an understanding that many healers may not have. So all that information from the mainstream can be very helpful, I would imagine.
Right, absolutely. That definitely came into play for the book, and that was, it was everything I needed for the book. And then when my mother started getting these messages, on how when people would come in with these different symptoms and things like that, and then these are the messages. that's when it all started making sense. And that's how all of this started coming, was she would just say, when in her sessions, because this was all just evolved so gradually. It was just so subtle and so gradual. And she'd be having sessions, and then she'd come in from a session, she'd say, it was just really funny. This person came in with, a thyroid issue, and the subconscious, or, because that was just starting to come in gradually. And she'd say, this part, this other part came in, and it was just started telling them about how they need to speak up, and they're not saying things. They need to speak their truth. And or if they have, leg issues, they're not walking on, they're walking in the wrong direction. They're not going their direction and stuff. And we'd start seeing patterns, and it was like, this is really interesting, and it's like we'd start seeing little patterns like that. And so then I started laying these things out, and then I started going, well, if this means this, then this should mean this. And this should mean this, because it was becoming that transparent. And then, okay, well, then knowing the body, then this should mean this and this, and then I started doing that. And then when I start talking to people and they start telling me their aches and pains, and it's like, well, based on this logic, the way that I'm seeing it, well, then maybe this is your situation. And they'd be going, oh, wow, how do you know that? How did you, and it was like, oh, okay, I'm starting to figure something out here, And so it just becomes, it was like you're translating a language. And that's what started happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So for those who would like to purchase your book, Soul Speak, can they go to your website, juliacannon.com, or where would they go?
Yes, there's a link from there, juliacannon.com. There's also a link on my Facebook page, which is Julia Cannon Soul Speak on Facebook. There's also ozarkmt.com, which is actually the publishing company. I think that's all of the, and then also Amazon. But those, any of those places. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
It's Soul Speak, the language of your body. Mm-hmm.
Yes, very powerful to really understand, because sometimes it may take years to really understand what our bodies are telling us. I know that in my past, I had some problems with my throat for a long time, and it took me years to really find out what it was. So having a book that is actually telling you all this information with the background of somebody like you that has both parts, the one that is very doctoral, very from the mainstream, and then the part that is more metaphysical, I feel is so powerful. So thank you for writing that book.
Oh, you're very welcome. And then look here. Look, you've got a radio show where you're speaking and you're putting out truth. You're putting out, you're disseminating truth. I'm also getting that I have no idea your age, but I'm also getting that you are probably maybe within that second wave pattern. I have no idea, but which are the ones that are channeling the information, the ones that are bringing in a lot of the second waves are ones that are here to channel and bring in, with the, are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're giving me chills. Right,
so the second wave, do you consider yourself a second wave?
I would say it may be possible, yes. Would you explain, now that we are in this subject, would you explain about the waves so that also our audience knows better and I learn more?
Because what Mom was finding too, a lot of the second waves end up being broadcasters. So they'll do something they'll do something with broadcasting of some kind, because that's what they want to do. They're trying to get, it's a way of channeling the energy. They're bringing they're bringing the energy in, and then they're able to get the truth out. So
I love that. That's totally me.
Isn't that cool?
Yes.
So but the three waves, what Mom was finding as she was doing more and more sessions, because this is part of a much, much bigger story, but to try and encapsulate it as best I can, was we have people, in order to help raise the vibration of the earth, a call went out to across the universes and across the dimensions to any and all beings pure beings that would want to come to help Earth, to raise, like I said, to raise the frequencies, because the frequencies here are so dense that it needed help. Mainly, it wasn't so much the planet, it was the frequencies of the humanity. And so needed help raising them to help, because the Earth needs to, she's going to go into her next incarnation. And so the people of Earth were stuck on this wheel of karma, and they were just destroying the Earth and just not understanding Earth at all. And so they're just destroying. And so in order to lift the vibrations, they need to bring in pure souls. And so the call went out, please. And this happened around 1950. It was after the World War II, when the atomic bomb was dropped. They were like, look, there's just no hope here. You know, we just gotta bring in new pure souls. So the call went out, and what Mom started noticing was there's like these waves, and the first wave started about, right after the bomb was dropped. So we're going to say about the 1950s, somewhere in there. And they range. There's not any clear-cut, ages or anything. But so those, they might be maybe, let's say, 40s to 60s now, in their ages. And then the second wave, the first wave had it the hardest because they were the first ones in here, and they had to kind of pave the way for everybody else. So they had it much, much harder. They were like, you look at anybody coming into some place first, they've got to plow the ground, they've got to make the first what do you call them, the trailblazers, and stuff. They've got the hardest. And so those they had such a hard time. A lot of them were wanting to commit suicide. They had such a hard way. And so now the ones after them, the second wave, and all of these, they really don't want to be here. They don't feel like they're at home. They do not feel comfortable here. They don't like the violence. They don't like the way people treat, man treats humanity and things like that. But the second wave didn't have as hard a time here because the first wave blazed the trail, so they were able to follow the wave, the second wave, the other wave, the first wave. So they didn't necessarily want to commit suicide, but they didn't feel, they still weren't comfortable, but they weren't in that same shape. But what they are, the second wave, they're all bringing the energy in, but the second wave is their biggest thing is they act like conduits, and they're like channels. And all of them, they just all they have to do is just be here, and they're just bringing in the energy. So the second wave, their biggest kind of trait is they can just we like to call them antennas. They can, and that's why I like to say that's why. And a lot of times they're observers. They're just watching and observing. But I refer to them as channels and antennas, and so that's why a lot of times I see them as beacons and broadcasters. And then what's so funny is then a lot of times they are broadcasters. They end up being in the media field. So I just think it's so funny. And then the third wave, so that second wave is in the age range of like 20s to 40s. So and it's really rough again. Then there's overlapping in these ranges, in these ages. Then the third wave are younger, and they used to be children. Now they're getting up into their teenagers and maybe even into 20s because they're not so much children anymore. Because all these things, they keep aging. These waves are moving. So they're probably teenagers now, maybe even into their 20s. But they were coming in to show us the possibilities. See, they're coming in with all the DNA already connected, already there. Everything's connected. Because all of this is to show us everybody's having their DNA changed everybody's having that. But we're all being adjusted. Everything as the earth is being shifted, we're all being shifted. All of this is happening, and that's why we have, we're noticing changes and everything. That's what all of this is. As earth is, shifting into the new dimension, we are all shifting with her. That's what the goal of all of this was raise the vibrations, show us how to do this. Well, that's where all these waves are coming in to help us do this. So, see, that's what it's all about. And actually, mission accomplished. It's all been done. So.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I don't know. Oh yeah. I don't know if you guys noticed that after 2012, completely since, oh my goodness, they changed so much, and I feel that this year is really, really definitive on our transformation, on this closure of extraterrestrial life and many other things. How do you guys feel about this?
I know Candace can probably add some more to this, but I definitely, and they said 2012 wasn't, it actually happened before that, but definitely I could feel it in 2012, and then since then, and I agree with you, this year is like even more. It just, every year just keeps ramping up even more and more, and it keeps speeding up even more. But I agree. How do you feel about that, Candace?
Yes, I feel exactly the same way. The preponderance of clients who come to QHHT sessions to explore their consciousness, I believe, have really changed since December 21st, 2012, and particularly in the last year. So, yes, wow. Humanity as a whole really is moving forward. And one of the things that I know that we talk about as practitioners and even with clients is the fact that so many people are waking up, and yet many of those people who are awake, who aren't in the field that Victoria, you're in, that Julia, you and I are in, and feel very free to talk about this. Many of them come to sessions feeling as if they can't talk to their family members about it. Mm-hmm. But what is so astonishing and so astounding is I can have, one member of a family and then a very close member of the same family either ask me questions or come for sessions and be very concerned that, privacy is kept so that the other family member doesn't find out that they're exploring in this way so that they think they're crazy. And that's just so funny. It's humorous from our perspective. From their perspective, they're still working that out a little bit. But, yes, many changes.
Wow. I'm so excited for what is to come. Okay. Well, talking about the books from Dolores Cannon, the Search for Hidden Sacred Knowledge is already published, right? It's available?
Right. Yeah, it came out, I think, it's been a couple of months now that it's been out at least. She was essentially done with it when she passed. She was, just all but done. And I just had like a few things I had to do with it. And so we were able to get it out not too long after she passed. And then we have, and then another book that'll be out here in a couple of months or a few months also. So that, because she was always working on several books at once. So that was nice. But,
oh my goodness.
We do have several more books that we can still get out because she always had several. But yes, that book was pretty much done, and so we were able to finish that.
So what is the convoluted universe about? The number 5. What is the
number 5? I'm still working on that one to finish it. That one I can give you a little sneak peek. The best way, and we're looking at having it out this summer. You know how they're always about mind-bending concepts, metaphysical concepts. You know how she loves, the next, bending your mind like pretzels. And then, so it's got more things like that. But what is always wonderful is they're always going to the next level on who we are. So it's like taking another peeling of that onion off. About who we are, who we really are. So expanding energy. It's like more about who we are, just bigger energy. Okay? So I'll give you that much.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Well, I'm excited to find out what it is.
Yeah.
And just for those people, for those who are calling, I saw some calls, but nobody's pressing number 1. So just make sure that if you call for a question, press number 1. And once again, the phone number to ask questions will be 347-308-8788. And make sure to press number 1 if you want to ask a question. Okay, so now you guys are going to the UFO conference. It's the 3rd year, is that correct?
Yeah, this is the 3rd year that we are running it. This is the 28th year that it has been in. Yeah, I think it's the oldest running one in the United States. I'm not sure about the world. We never were sure about saying that about the world. I actually haven't researched it. It might be the oldest one in the world. I just don't know. Excuse me. And we are very close. We have a very close competition to being the largest one in the United States. We run neck and neck with this other one, which we will not name. But it's a friendly competition. And
yes.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it's the oldest. It's the longest one, running one in the United States, and Lou Farish started this 28 years ago, and Mom was one of the founding members. And she's the very first, and actually I was privileged to be at the very first show that long ago too. So, and unfortunately I was very sick, but I do remember being there, and so that was really cool. And then she's been there all these years. We've always had a presence there. And then Lou passed away about, just a few years ago. It did change hands about that time. And then 3 years ago, that person just, he retired, and he just said, I can't, I'm not able to do this anymore, and would you be interested in taking it over? Because we were already doing our transformation conference, and we were into the ETs and all of these different scenarios and everything, and he just said, would you be willing? And, because if you don't take it over, nobody will, and it's going to die. And we couldn't see that happen. So, and we were such good friends with Lou, who had started it, and so we just felt like we had to honor him and keep it going. And so we took it over, and what was so wonderful was the first year we took it over, it sold out. It was wonderful.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. That's amazing.
Yeah. It was fantastic.
And you have so much to share. I mean, it's the perfect venue to really share everything that you are doing and finding out about extraterrestrial life. Did you have actually a UFO experience, or it was mostly through the QHHT sessions that you connected with extraterrestrial life?
Right. It's always been through the sessions. I've had dreams. I don't doubt that I've had something happen. I just don't have any conscious memory of it. I've had some strange things happen back there, but I don't, and that's okay. I don't, I totally am with it, and totally, I don't doubt that I probably have had experiences, but, I am all about bringing the awareness forward and eliminating the fear surrounding the whole phenomenon, and bringing people, creating a safe place for people to share their experiences and helping people feel safe about exploring their experiences. And it's like one of our speakers that we have is Sherry Wilde, and Candace and I just interviewed her last night on the Metaphysical Hour, and that's her story. She is a contactee and has been a contactee most of her life, and that's her, her message is, she was in fear for so long, and then she finally figured out that that's not what it's all about. She had to get beyond the fear to realize that it's not about fear at all. It's a beautiful message. It's a beautiful thing that happened, and what it's all about. And the ETs are very spiritual. It's all a very spiritual world, and it's all about, it's all about manifesting and all about creating, and it's all up to us. And that's what, and that's what I want to get people to understand. And so this is where we're going with this.
And I would imagine that all this extraterrestrial influence is part of these three waves. They are supporting this transformation and this ascension of our consciousness.
I think you're absolutely right. Yes, I believe you're absolutely right, because, that has really been shifting, because before it was all about nuts and bolts. Do you think they really exist? And oh my gosh, everybody's so afraid, and it was all this. And now it really is changing, and you can really see the shift. And I bet you're right.
I really appreciate it of what you are doing, because you mentioned about providing a space where it's safe to speak about these experiences, and I feel that for many, many, many years we didn't have that. Nobody was speaking about this, and it was like as soon as we open our mouths about this, it's like, oh my goodness, you are totally nuts. But thanks to people like Dolores, like you, like Candace, and all the people that is really, really making this something that is accepted in the whole world, that it is not something weird, it's just that our perception has been completely redirected out from this. And I think that's terrible, because we're missing out so much.
Right. Well, like Candace was saying, people come in and they're afraid they're going to be taken as crazy. And for so long, they were. You are nuts. That was, you're just diagnosed as nuts, period. And we need a space. And, sometimes some people are, but for the most time, no. They're okay. These are really valid experiences.
Okay, so I'm going to read a question I have here for Julia. Sorry, I'm from Spain, so
no problem. I love it. Yeah.
Okay, so it came in through the chat, and let's see. How would you advise people who listen to your message in your book, So Speak, to integrate its advice with our modern healthcare system and healthcare providers? That's a great question. Wow.
Okay, so how do we to integrate it with the healthcare?
Yes, so the modern healthcare and the health system and providers.
Well,
okay, that's a great answer. It says everything.
Well,
may I interrupt just real quick and Julia, I haven't even really told you this. I kind of was going to keep it as a surprise, but maybe this is a wonderful way to tell you this surprise. Yeah. Actually, I've been speaking with, for about a week or so, a very well-known major cancer center here in America who has contacted us, who want to bring in those who practice QHHT as part of the services that they want to provide to their clients along with traditional medical care. This person is requesting and beginning to write a grant to provide funding to actually provide QHHT to cancer patients in America. Now, how amazing is that? We're just in the beginning stages of talking about it. And I actually was hoping to have a little more information before, sort of, but it just seemed like my higher self said, just butt in and tell them that.
Absolutely.
So I did.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So it just shows that more and more people, even mainstream medicine, is starting to take notice. And when this person first contacted us, we actually were, let's just say we were kind of cool about it, because normally mainstream medicine has, in their conversations with us, not been very accepting of this woo-woo kind of stuff. And this person just had a big heart and said, no, I support this, and we need to do everything that we can to help people in this health predicament. And he is very open, and, we're moving forward on this relationship with each other. So how cool is that?
Oh, that's amazing.
That's fantastic. Really fantastic. That's wonderful news. Thank you, Candace.
You're welcome.
That's huge. You see, those are all marks of the shift. People are all the time saying, I don't see anything. I don't understand what the shift is about. I don't see. That's the shift right there.
Yes, and I just still would like to see what you think that people can do. Maybe go to their doctors and just explain what they think, like based on what they read in Soul Speak, or how would you go about this?
Well,
Julia?
first of all, what Soul Speak is telling people to do is take their power back.
Wow.
Okay, you know your body better than anybody. Okay, it's take your power back. Don't look outside of yourself for all your answers. Look inside. So first of all, ask yourself what is going on. So, and that's a guideline. Okay, so if there's something, whatever the body part is, what is it trying to tell you? And then, your doctor can give you guidance, or your healthcare provider can give you guidance. Okay, if you need to get some testing or whatever, that can maybe give you guidance as to something else. Whatever it is that's going on. And then that helps you to understand maybe something. And then that's helping you to know a little bit more about the message. And then that helps you to know what's going on. See, because you're just trying to get the message. Now, because remember, it's all about the message. The body's just trying to deliver a message.
Right.
That's what it's all about. So, and in that process, you are just, you're trying to get the message. Once the message is delivered, it no longer, once it's delivered and you've acted upon it, then it will go away. See, you start acting on it. So that's how you integrate. You're just using the healthcare providers to help you understand the message. So in a way that, you're just asking them. It's like, okay, maybe they're going, okay, we need to have some tests. Or they may go, okay, well, I would go as natural as possible. You know, they may say, okay, we need to get you on some medications or whatever. It's like, I'd stay away from medications. I try to go as natural, stay natural, because the body can adapt to natural. It's the medications, it's going, okay, it has problems with that. But you're always trying to maneuver, the body, because you're just trying to get the message. I'm just saying, do what you've got to do to get the message. And the doctors are always going to try and, they're always going to be there at the ready with a pill. That's just the system. That's the way it is. So if you've got to go down that road, if you've got a situation and I've got to go in here and I've got to take care of this, okay, that's fine. Get the message, though. Okay, I've got this situation with this body part. That's fine. Get it taken care of, but at the same time, get the message. You've got to understand what it's trying to tell you. That is what you're really after. And then start, okay, well, then do something about it. You've got to start internalizing this. It's okay, what is it you're trying to tell me? What do you want me to know? And then do something. Act on it. And then, maybe you did get some medication. Maybe you did do something there. Okay, don't beat yourself up over it, but act on whatever it was the message is. Okay, and you'll get off the medication. That's fine. You've got to start. This is a cooperative thing here. You're still working with yourself. It's just something that you've just got to work with. And as far as this is something I had to deal with, like when Mom, when she passed. When she first went into the hospital, she hit her head. She went to the hospital. They have all their things. They naturally do. Right off the bat, we got to give her a flu shot. I said, no, you will not. Oh, we have to. You will not. That was, she would not. That was totally against her belief. I will not have a flu shot. I do not want it. It was like, no.
It's perfect.
Her.
Perfect.
And then, they were trying to give her all these shots. It's like, no, you will not do that. No. I could not believe. You just have to stand up for yourself. You have to get, because that's natural. That is what they do. That is the system. That is what they do. And it's so natural for them to do that. They're going, and they just assume that it's okay to do it. And you have to stand firm and say no, and they'll back off. They.
Julia? Oops, I think we lost Julia. Okay, Candace,
oh no.
Are you there?
I'm absolutely here.
Okay.
Julia, I hope that you can call back, but I'm happy to. I'm happy to fill in.
Yeah, something that I really would like to ask you is what was the most outstanding experience you had in a QHHT session?
Oh my gosh!
If you can choose one that was extraterrestrial related, like really amazing, I would love to hear that.
Oh, okay. Well, there are so many, of course, but I'd be happy to share them with you. One of the things that I am finding that is a pattern, so I've been practicing quantum healing hypnosis since the middle of 2008. And as much as possible, early on I wasn't quite as busy. Now I'm very, very busy taking sessions. But even back then, there were some of these types of sessions that I'm going to explain right now. But there's more and more. And what I found, of course, incredibly coincidental, and we know there's no such thing as coincidences. I had another session 2 days ago with a lovely man from the West Coast who came to see me for a session to have some of his experiences more deeply explained to him by his higher self. And what he found out, and what more and more people are finding out about themselves, is the fact that they truly are multidimensional beings. Now, what that means is, we as the metaphysical community, we kind of toss that term around, don't we? We're multidimensional beings. Well, what does that really mean, right? Right? Because we use that phrase, and it's some of the woo-woo kind of phrasing that sometimes makes more of the general population, or those who haven't quite studied any of this, really raise their eyebrows. They don't know what that means. But what we're finding in QHHT sessions is we're giving direct examples of what exactly that means in the session and by the higher self, or the subconscious, as Dolores called it, will tell us exactly what that means. So the ET session that I just had, and one that I've had over the years now, has been people finding out that they have an aspect of themselves, meaning another life being lived by the same soul stream that animates their own lives. There's another aspect of themselves living at the same time in another life, in another existence. So, for example, I learned in 2012 that I have an aspect of myself living as a male in the Orion star system. And that was astonishing and amazing, and I still continue to explore that relationship. This man, a couple of days ago, found out that he has an aspect that is currently aboard a ship that is circling the planet Earth, standing at the ready in case the call is needed for that being to arrive physically for whatever reason, including, help and assistance, etc. But here's a direct story that I think is kind of fun that has to do with the same thing, which has to do with aspects of people's soul stream, let's say, animating, other beings and other lives. So I had a man come to see me, and this was fairly early on in my practice of QHHT, but Dolores prepared me beautifully for this, as she does everyone, because her method just takes whatever situation is going on in a person's life and allows, the higher self, the subconscious, to explain what's going on. So this man came to see me, and I have to tell you, he was a very strange-looking fellow. He was so sweet. He was very, very kind, and he was very quiet, but he was he had a very strange presence, and let me describe to you what his presence was. So as he sat in my office and we talked, he didn't want to make direct eye contact with me at all times like a normal person would. And I could tell why. His eyes didn't operate in unison. Not all the time. His one right eye might go in one direction, his other eye, they may turn. And it wasn't all the time, but it was enough to be noticed. Much like, let's say, a lizard. You've seen lizards, right? Where one eye kind of walks around and goes in one direction and goes in another direction. Well, he was like that. And, he knew that his eyes did that. And as you might imagine, many other humans might be bothered or even afraid of somebody whose eyes don't work, quote unquote, normally. And when we did his session, what we found out was, just as Julia was explaining earlier, he was part of the second wave of volunteers who wanted to help by assisting, by incarnating on the planet. And here's how he decided to do it. He brought a ship and was circling the planet, observing what was going on Earth, wanting to help. And this is what he did. He took and it was a physical body. He took his physical body and put it in some sort of stasis chamber on the ship that continues to circle the Earth while he sent his energy down into the body of this man, and he was in his 40s, I believe, down into the body of this man to experience a full human life. So this man was experiencing his first human life on the planet, and he was just as sweet as you could be, but he was, as you might imagine, he's kind of just a little fragile and a little, not standoffish, but kind of protective and quiet. And he got to learn exactly who he was, exactly how he chose the body, exactly what he was supposed to do in his life, and why he was, quote unquote, so different. And when he left, he had a great understanding of the trials and tribulations of his life and how he would and should continue living out the rest of his life before he lays this human body down and goes back to that spaceship and reanimates the body that he's left circling the Earth. So how's that for a session?
Oh, my goodness. That's totally amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Candace. And that was really, really... I never saw something like that, but what it reminds me also is that we see movies like X-Men in which there are some mutants, people that is showing different abilities, and, it's so cool. Why don't we accept that, How cool would it be that everybody in the world would have their specific qualities that are different, that bring richness to our civilization? I love that. Imagine having those eyes that can focus in two different things at the same time. I think it's outstanding. And
more and more people are
back, actually.
More and more people are accepting. Yes, I think Julia did come back. I'll just end by saying more and more people are accepting this of other people, but the QHHT sessions really helps the clients help accept this in themselves, and that's the most important thing.
Very important. I feel in that way they can truly show who they are with love.
Mm-hmm.
Julia,
I do believe
you there?
Julia made it back on.
I am back, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I made it back.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Julia, and what about you? What was the most amazing session or information about extraterrestrials that you could share?
The funniest thing was the one that was the closest one that I came. And I'm so sorry. I shared in the class as far as it was the closest one I came to. I have one that was on myself, and that was actually very similar to the one that Candace just shared, and that's where I have an aspect of myself. So it's almost like what she was just saying, very similar. Yeah. There's an aspect of myself on a craft. It's not orbiting Earth. I'm not sure where it is, but it's in suspended animation someplace. And then I'm here, so it's like I don't know what it's doing though, but it's in suspended animation someplace. And it keeps. And I thought, well, it's odd because why is it in suspended animation where some others are able to be like, see, Candace, you're in Orion, having a fully functioning one, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it may have to do, Julia, with, and I've asked the subconscious this question myself, and it has to do with a kind of percentage of soul power, if you may. It kind of depends on how many aspects you're animating at the same time, and how awake and how high of a vibration those particular aspects may need, how much of the soul's energy they may need to continue.
That makes sense. But one session that I did, there was this one man I was working on early on, and I did several sessions with him, and I was practicing a lot with him, and we finally got to a point to where he was like, he wanted to explore something that happened to him, and he was like, I have this situation that I think something may have happened, and it did. It had all the earmarks of an ET experience. I was like, oh yay, I get to have mine, and I'm like, all right. So here we go, and in the session, and here we're coming up on it, and then all of a sudden, this voice comes in. It says, no, not ready. And I was like, what? He's not ready? And I said, no, you're not ready. And I thought, what? What? Me?
Wow.
Me? I'm Dolores' daughter. I'm like, what? And what I heard intuitively was, you don't know the questions to ask. And I was just like, and that was a wonderful learning experience for me, because this was early on, and I use this as a teaching tool in the class because this is so important. This was back when I was afraid of asking questions. I didn't, I was nervous about asking questions. And as you know, like an interviewer, you have to ask questions. And it used to be, that was a big deal to me, it's like, no, asking questions means you're nosy and it's none of your business. You just mind your own business. That's, that was my attitude toward things. And so that was a learning experience for me. And it was it was just a wonderful, here, I missed this wonderful opportunity. Here was an opportunity to learn something, and I couldn't because I had this attitude about questioning. So, yeah. So that's...
I imagine you have come a long way from there because, you are doing so many things right now that...
Absolutely, yeah. I don't do sessions. I haven't done any for several years because I have, everything's been so busy. I was running mom and running the businesses and everything, so and then teaching the classes and everything. So I haven't been able to do any since then. So, yeah.
And an idea about what you were mentioning of the difference between Candace's experience with that life in Orion and yours with your soul overflowing, hovering over in a spaceship.
Somewhere.
Somewhere. What I think it may be is that perhaps in Candace's case is her oversoul having two expressions, whereas maybe in your case is your soul being the same. It's the same aspect of the oversoul that is divided. I think it may be that. I don't know if that makes sense. So in Candace's case would be the oversoul having two different expressions, whereas in your case, it seems that it's your soul, not the oversoul. Okay, maybe.
Okay, I don't know.
I don't know.
But I was always like, well, why am I in suspended animation when others don't have to be? Like, what's the deal?
Because I relate to that. I relate to more to what you were sharing. So maybe, I don't know, that's my experience. But anyway, I have another question for you that I'm very excited, and this is going to be the last question for the show. And you can expand as much as you feel. So this question is about the different extraterrestrial races that you feel are the most important that are helping humanity at this point, and even if it is one that is involved with humanity right now and may not be that helpful, but what are the main extraterrestrial races that are in relation with humanity right now, from your perspective?
The main extraterrestrial races?
Yes.
Oh, well, actually, now I don't know if Candace, if you're getting any different information, but actually with our information, they weren't being identified as one or another to Mom or anything. It was just like, we're all one. We're not. They weren't being identified. They didn't have names. They didn't have races. They didn't have. It was just. There are all kinds of different ones. It's almost like on these Star Trek movies. There's ships with all these different ones, and they're all working together.
Beautiful. Wow.
Do you get anything different from that, Candace?
Actually, everything that you've just said, I completely agree with. I get many sessions, and many other practitioners have many sessions with ET people. ET beings. Sometimes the information about what star system, what are they called, or et cetera, is brought forth, but not very often. And if you think about it, what we've just talked about here, this concept of being multidimensional, well, those people, those beings, are also multidimensional. Right. Excuse me, and they've got aspects doing all kinds of things. So we are fed sort of like Dolores always says in her book, spoonfuls at a time. So although I appreciate the question, Victoria, very much, because I understand that, and I've had some sessions that talk about particular wars or battles or conflicts between races or alliances, et cetera, and we as humans really love that kind of stuff, it's stories. It really boils down to labels and names. And we perhaps sometimes can benefit more, and sometimes clients can benefit more when we don't focus so much on that, on the labels and names, more that we focus on the description of the bigger issues. Even Sherry was talking about that last night, Sherry Wilde, when we were talking about, her being, at first saying something about Andromeda, and then she was just very vague about it and shaking her head, and it was like, it just doesn't matter. That part doesn't matter. The part that matters is the message and the connection. And sometimes when we focus too much on that, we get distracted. And but yes, and they can come forth. They can tell us some of those things, and in some sessions they do, and there is that precision, but not in the main. Not most people. Most you just hear other beings from far away, et cetera, and some of that I think is withheld from us for a reason, and withheld from our clients for a reason, so that they don't focus on that.
Yeah, because it's not important. Well, it just really is not important. Just as it's not important here on this plane.
Okay. Well, so just to close the show today, I want to mention that anyone that wants to learn QHHT or find a practitioner, they can go to DoloresCannon.com. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And you can do an online class at any time from DoloresCannon.com. And we also have a live class coming up like next week, and then they can do the online classes at any time. And then the schedules are all on DoloresCannon.com.
Wonderful. And then to continue connecting with you, Julia, they can go to juliacannon.com, and with you, Candace, newearthjourney.com.
Yes.
Okay, so any last message for our audience?
Just thank you so much, Victoria, for this wonderful honor and opportunity to share our messages. And just everybody, just love, and do not fear. That's everything is always about loving and being kind to one another. And I know that sounds trite, but that's what it's all about.
It is.
So thank you.
Thank you so much. Candace, anything that you want to share to complete?
Yes, I want to also thank you and Julia so much always for allowing me to tag along with you. I'm always so blessed and honored to help continue your and your amazing mother's work. Thank you so much. But I just want to say this to anyone who's listening who's fascinated about this topic and this type of exploration. If you're fascinated, you have one of the main ingredients that you need to do this kind of exploration yourself. And taking the class and learning directly from Dolores online is a wonderful thing. And you too can time travel and learn about ET races and other dimensions and lost history and knowledge just like Dolores, because she gifted the world with her method. And anybody can do this work. All they have to have is an open heart and a desire to explore with other humans in this way. And it's just amazing work, and I'm so blessed. Sometimes I just can't even believe how much fun and how amazing it is to get up and go to work and do this kind of stuff day after day. I just thank Dolores Cannon and Julia so much for providing that opportunity for me and for anybody out there who wants to do this. You can do it too.
Beautiful. Yes, I feel such connection with Dolores that even during our interview, I felt her presence. So I'm very, very grateful, Julia, Candace, for having this opportunity to connect with you and share with my audience and share with the world all the beautiful information and work that you are doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.
So that's the completion of this show. And next week, on Saturday, March 14th at 10 a.m. PST, 1 p.m. EST, we will have with us Andrew Bashago. He is the team leader of Project Pegasus and the founder of Mars Anomaly Research Society. And he's also running for president in 2016. So check this out next week at 10 a.m. on Saturday. All the archives of my shows, both in video and audio, as well as all the information about the upcoming show with Andrew Bashago, are available at victoriavives.com/radio. And remember, if you are near Los Angeles, today you can join us for Reiki Level 1 certification and tonight for Shamanic Drumming Circle. All details at reikiwellbeing.org. And if you are not in California, but you still want to learn about healing, check out crystalhealer.org for Crystal Healer certification. Okay, so I'm going to leave you now with the announcements. Know that I love you. Bye. Okay, and now, as you know, this is a network. It's the Enlightenment Evolution Network. So I'm going to just share with you the different shows that we have. On Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, we have Heart to Heart Talk Radio with Daniel Scranton. On Tuesday at 12 noon Pacific Time, we have Soulfulpreneur with Rachel Archelaus and Megan Crandall-Meyer. On Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, we have the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with Rob Gaffier, the creator of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. On Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, we have Consciousness Evolution Hour with Philip Malika. On Fridays at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, Pierre's Experience with Kalina Angel. On Saturdays, like today, at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, is Air Sky People Radio with yours truly, Victoria Vives Khuong. On Saturday at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, Disclosure Now. On Sundays at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, About Oneness with Karen Newman. And finally, Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time, we will have very soon the resonance intention with Sol and Neil Gao. Okay, bye for now. You are listening to the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Welcome to Earth Sky People Radio. Living in harmony with Mother Earth and awakening to an intergalactic society. With your host, Victoria Vives, founder of Reiki Wellbeing and co-founder of the Earth Sky People Movement. I